All right, everyone, welcome in. Today, we're really going to dig into something incredible. Salman Rushdie's knife. Meditations after an attempted murder. It's
Yeah,
intense right from the title. I
yeah,
mean, this is his own account of that attack in 2022.
absolutely.
His recovery, but it goes so much deeper, like love loss, the
Definitely.
power of art, and he even gets into his thoughts on the guy who attacked him. Like,
It's wild and so unexpected.
exactly. And you've got some of the excerpts from Knife itself,
I do.
which are already powerful, but we're also going to bring in some of his other writing, like essays, speeches, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's all connected.
Okay.
You can't separate the attack from his life's work, his beliefs. Seeing how it all weaves together, that's what makes Knife so impactful.
Gotcha. So let's go back to that day at the Chautauqua Institution,
Mhm.
peaceful place, known for, intellectual discussion.
Right.
He even describes it as a step backward in time into an earlier, innocent world.
It's idyllic.
Totally. And he's about to go on stage when...
And that's when everything changes. The
Ah.
contrast he creates between that peaceful setting and the sudden violence, it's jarring.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back on the details either. He writes, "A man in black running toward me, black clothes, black face mask. He was coming in hard and low. A squat missile.
Chilling.
Chilling. It's like you're right there."
And what's amazing is how clear-headed he remains in that moment. Like, he's worried about his Ralph Lauren suit, his credit cards.
Really?
Yeah, this bizarre mix of the ordinary and the terrifying.
Like his mind is clinging to any sense of normalcy it can find.
Ex-
And then the aftermath. This huge outpouring of support, but also people celebrating the attack
Yeah, it's disturbing.
deeply. And we can't forget about his wife, Eliza.
Of course not.
He doesn't go into a ton of detail about her experience in Knife.
Yes, right.
But we do get glimpses of her rushing to be by his side, hearing, he's not going to make it.
Heartbreaking.
It reminds you that this attack didn't just affect Rushdie, it rippled out to everyone who loved him.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that he survived it all is just incredible. And he really lays out the injuries in the book, the damage to his hand, his liver, all the surgeries.
Yeah,
It's a long road back.
it is. And he doesn't try to make it prettier than it was. Like when he describes being on a ventilator, he says it's having an armadillo's tail pushed down your throat.
Wow.
It's classic Rushdie finding that humor even in the darkest moments.
That's what gets me about him. He doesn't let it crush him. He talks about relearning basic things like brushing his teeth with one hand, even gives nicknames to all the doctors and therapists.
He even says to Eliza, we have more stories to tell. Like, this isn't going to stop him.
And it doesn't. He starts writing again.
Starting with Knife itself.
Right, like processing it all through writing, turning it into something he can use.
Art as defiance. It's powerful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then the book takes his turn. I wasn't expecting it all. He starts thinking about the guy who attacked him, not like excusing it,
Right.
but trying to get inside his head. He even pictures having conversations with him, calls him the A. Honestly, kind of creepy.
It's risky for sure, but that's Rushdie. He's going to ask the hard questions, even the ones that make us uncomfortable. He talks about how the attacker seemed so normal, quiet even, but capable of this horrific violence.
It's scary. You think about online radicalization, how people get sucked into these echo chambers.
Absolutely. It's a whole other layer to the story, this dark side of the digital age.
For sure. And then it makes you wonder, how do we deal with this? How do we fight hate with something better?
That's the question, isn't it?
And Rushdie seems to think art has a role to play.
Oh, totally. Especially satire. He sees it as this vital way to challenge the status quo, make us think critically, question what we believe.
It's funny you mention satire because Rushdie connects that to something I wouldn't have thought of, like humor. He says the attacker seemed to have no sense of humor at all.
Interesting.
And that really stuck with me.
Yeah, well, think about it. Humor takes a little self-awareness, being able to laugh at yourself, and that kind of goes out the window with fear and intolerance.
Right, you get so locked into your own perspective.
Hmm.
But Knife isn't all about the attack and the aftermath. He also writes about like finding his way back to life, this new normal, whatever that means.
But it's not easy, right? He talks about being at a Pawnee event, surrounded by security, and jokes that they're his chauffeur.
Wow.
So, yeah, freedom, but not really.
Totally. And as if all that wasn't enough, he's also dealing with losing friends like Martin Amis.
It's a reminder that life is precious and fragile. You know, he writes about visiting Amos, who's battling cancer, and realizes they're both facing death just in different ways.
It's that kind of reflection that gets me. It's not just his story anymore, it's about all of us.
Exactly.
So with everything going on, how does Rushdie find hope?
Yeah.
What gets him through it all?
He talks about the need to really find life, not just recover from almost dying. He throws himself back into writing, does public appearances, even tries social media for a bit.
Huh. I hear you on that one.
But the point is he keeps going. He keeps creating.
And that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, Knife isn't some neat and tidy story. It's messy and complicated,
Yeah.
just like life.
Yeah, but hopeful too.
Absolutely. He ends with this belief in the power of art, his love for Eliza, his plans to keep writing. It's like proof that even in the darkest times, there's still light.
And he leaves us with this question, something to think about. How do we, in a world that feels so divided, how do we use our voices and our experiences to choose understanding over hate to build bridges instead of walls?
Wow, that's powerful. Something that we could all use a little more of.
Absolutely.
So to everyone listening, that's the question we'll leave you with. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Salman Rushdie's Knife.